Meaning of this song. Dust from the lotus feet of pure devotee is conducive to devotional service, while serving to the Vaishnavas is itself the supreme perfection and the root of the tender creep of divine love. I observe with great care and holy days like Ekadashi and Janmashtami, for they are the month of devotion. As my dwelling place, I choose with the greatest of reverence and love the transcendental abode of Sri Krishna. All those places where my Lord Gaurachandra travelled for pastimes, I will visit in the company of loving devotees. My mind always begs for the opportunity to hear the music of the mridanga. Upon hearing the kind of kirtan obtained by my Lord Gaurachandra, my heart dances in ecstasy. By beholding the deity's form of divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, I feel the greatest joy. By honoring the Lord's prasada, I conquer over all worldly illusions. Goloka Vrindavana appears in my home wherever I see the worship and serve the Lord Hari going on there. Upon seeing the Ganges, which is a river of nectar emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord, my happiness knows no bound. The sight of the holy Tulsi tree smoothens my soul, for I know she gives pleasure to Lord Krishna. By honoring Shak, a greeny leafy vegetable preparation, a dear favorite to Lord Chaitanya, I consider life worthwhile. Whatever Bhakti Vinoda obtains that is conducive for the service of Sri Krishna, he accepts every day with the greatest of joy. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. ना होना था क्या? Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadramai. Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupad 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 Prabhupad. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की. नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड गिरि राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की. वृंदावन धाम की. नवदीप धाम की. जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की. भक्ति देवी की. गंगा माई की जय. यमुना बाई की. ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की. ऑल ग्लोरीज टू assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada की. कुछ साउंड आ रहा है. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायामुदीरये. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपाकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. कृष्ण. श्री श्री गौरनिताय की जाए. श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन की जाए. जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जाए. So today we are reading from Srila Prabhupada lilamritha by Satsvarup Das Goswami. So before that we'll recite prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. नमा ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी निति नामिनी. नामस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणी. नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेमा प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरतिषे नमः. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरंगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome all for today's lilamritha discussion. So before reading, I seek blessings of Anandmay Prabhu and all the several Vaishnavas so that I can glorify our Acharya, founder Acharya of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada. So this is volume 2, chapter Stay High Forever. This is in October 1966. Walking back home in the early evening, past the shops and crowded tenements, followed by more than a dozen interested new people from the park, the Swami again sustained occasional shouts and taunts. But those who follow him back to the park were still feeling the aura of an ecstasy that easily tolerated a few taunts from the streets. Prabhupada especially was undisturbed. As he walked with his head high, not speaking, he was gravely absorbed in his thoughts. And yet, his eyes actively noticed people and places and exchanged glances with those whom he passed on his way along. 7th Street, past the churches and funeral homes, across 1st Avenue to the noisy, heavily trafficked 2nd Avenue. Then down 2nd past liquor stores, coin laundries, delicacies, past the Iglesia Alenzia Christiana Missionary, the Kohinoor Intercontinental Restaurant Palace, then past the Church of the Nativity, and finally back home to number 26. There was a crowd of people from the park standing on the sidewalks outside the storefront. Young people waiting for him to arrival and unlock the door to Matchless Gift Stall. They wanted to know more about the dance and the chanting and the elderly Swamiji and his disciples who had created such a beautiful scene in the park. They filled the storefront outside on the sidewalk. The timid or uncommitted loiterers near the door or windows, smoking and waiting or peering in and trying to see the paintings on the wall. Swamiji entered and walked directly to his dais and sat down before the largest gathering that had ever graced his temple. He spoke further of Krishna consciousness, the words coming as naturally as breathing as he quoted the Sanskrit authority behind what they had all been experiencing in the park. Just as they had all chanted today, he said, "So, everyone should chant always." A long-haired girl sitting close to Swamiji's dais raised her hand and asked, seemingly in trance, "When I am chanting, I feel a great concentration of my energy on my forehead, and then a buzzing comes and a reddish light." "Just keep on chanting," Swamiji replied. It will clear up." "Well, what does the chanting produce?" She seemed to be coming out of her trance now. "Chanting produces chanting," he replied. "Just as when you are calling the name of your beloved, if there is someone you love very much, then you want to repeat his name again and again. It is out of love." A man spoke up without raising his hand. "But is not just a kind of hypnotism or sound? Like if I chanted Coca-Cola over and over, would not it be the same?" "No," Prabhupada replied. "You take any word, repeat it for 10 minutes and you will feel disgusted. But we chant 24 hours and we don't feel tired. Oh, we feel new energy." The question seemed more relevant today. The guests had all been chanting in the park and now they were probing philosophical into what they had experienced. The Swami's followers marked this as a victory and they felt some reasonable as hosts and guides for the others. Swamiji had asked Kirtananda to prepare some prasadam for the guests, and soon Kirtananda appeared with small paper cups of sweet rice for all. The chanting process is just like cleansing the mind, said Prabhupada. We have so many misunderstandings about ourselves, about this world, about God, and about the relationship between these things. We have so many misgivings. This chanting will help to cleanse the mind. Then you will understand that this chanting is non-different from Krishna. A boy who was accompanying the long-haired girl spoke out incoherently. Yes, no, I. Prabhupada, yes, yes, yes. In the beginning, we have to chant. We may be in whatever position we are. It does not matter. If you begin chanting, the first benefit will be Cheto Dharpana Marjanam. The mind will be clear up of all dirty things. And the next stage will be that of sufferings. The miseries of this material world will subside. Boy, well, I don't quite understand what is the material world is because, Prabhupada, the material world is full of sufferings and miseries. Don't you understand that? Are you happy? Boy, sometimes I am happy, sometimes I am not. Prabhupada, no, you are not happy. That sometimes is your imagination. Just like a diseased man says, oh, yes, I am well. What is that well? He is going to die. He is going, as he is well. How he is well? Boy, I don't claim any ultimate happiness. Prabhupada, no, you do not know what is happiness is. Boy, but it is great or lesser. Prabhupada, yes, you do not know what is happiness. An older man standing with his arms folded near the rear of the temple, well, of course, that sorrow or that suffering might add the spice to make the suffering that goes in between seems happiness. Prabhupada, no, that thing is that there are different kind of miseries that we all understand. It is not only due to our ignorance that we don't care for it. Just like a man who is suffering for a long time, he has forgotten what is real happiness. Similarly, the sufferings are there already, for example, and he directed himself to the young man with his girlfriend. Take for example that you are a young man. Now, would you like to become an old man? Boy, I will become an old man in the process of. Prabhupada, you will become means you will force to become an old man, but you don't like to become an old man. Boy, I am not going to become forced to become an old man. Prabhupada, yes, forced. You will be forced. Boy, I don't see why. Prabhupada, if you don't want to become an old man, you will be forced to become an old man. Boy, it is one of the condition of. Prabhupada, yes, that condition is miserable. Boy, I find it not miserable, Prabhupada, because you are a young man, but ask any old man who is suffering, you see, a diseased man, do you want to be deceased? Boy, I won't search in it out, Prabhupada. Boy, I would search for it. Search it out. Prabhupada, no, just answer me. Do you like to be deceased? Boy, what is disease? Prabhupada, just answer. Boy, what is disease? Prabhupada, oh, you have never suffered from disease? You have never suffered from disease? Prabhupada looks dramatically incredulous. Boy, I have had the mumps and measles and whooping cough, which is what everyone has. And you get it over. Some people in the audience laughs. Prabhupada, everyone may be suffering, but that does not mean that is not suffering. We have to admit that we are always in suffering. Boy, if I have never known happiness, I feel sure I have never known suffering either. Prabhupada, that is due to your ignorance. We are in suffering. We don't know. We don't want to die, but either death is there. We don't want to be deceased, but death is there. But disease is there. We don't want to become old is there. We don't want so many things, but they are forced upon us, and any sane man will admit that these are sufferings. But if you are accustomed to take these sufferings, then you say it all right. But any sane man won't like to be diseased. He won't like to be old, and he won't like to be die. Why do you have this peace movement? Because if there is war, there will be death. So people are afraid. They are making agitation. There should be no war. Do you think that death is a very pleasurable thing? Boy, I have never experienced. Prabhupada, you have experienced and forgotten. Many times you have died. You have experienced, but you have forgotten. Forgetfulness is no excuse. Suppose a child forgets some suffering, that does not mean he did not suffer. Boy, no, I agree. Prabhupada, yes. So suffering is there. You have to take direction from realized souls, from authorities. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This world is full of miseries. So one has to realize it. Unless we understand that this place is miserable, there is no question of how to get out of it. A person who does not develop this understanding is not fully developed. Just like the animal, they do not understand what misery is. They are satisfied. It was late when he finally turned to his apartment. One of the boys brought him a cup of hot milk, and someone remarked they should do the chanting in the park every week, every day. He replied. Even while half a dozen people were present, he lay down on his thin mat. He continued to speak for some time, and then his voice trailed off. Preaching in fragmented words, he appeared to doze. It was 10 o'clock. They tipped off, softly shutting the doors. So this is while Srila Prabhupada is returning from Thompson Square Park. So everyone was eager to know more about the chanting, what they experienced in the park. So they visited the storefront, 26th Avenue, and they were eagerly waiting for Srila Prabhupada to come and explain on the subject matter. So Srila Prabhupada started explaining, this is what is from Vedic literature, and this is, so later on the boy posed his questions. And one Mataji also there, she was explaining her experience. She felt some happiness and she was in trance. Prabhupada is saying she was in trance and she is felting some light in forehead. So Srila Prabhupada said, if you chant more, it will be clearer. So later on, Prabhupada, boy was posing so many questions for which Srila Prabhupada answered. So they don't know old man because old disease, death, they don't know. So Prabhupada is telling, already you were dead previously. Once again you took birth. So Prabhupada is explaining. So finally he agreed that yes, sufferings are there. October 10. It was clear. It was early. Swamiji had not yet come down for class and the sun had not yet risen. Satswarupa and Kirtananda sat on the floor of the store front, reading a clipping from the morning Times. Satswarupa, has the Swamiji seen it? Kirtananda, yes, just a few minutes ago. He said it is very important, it is historic. He especially liked that it was the New York Times. Satswarupa reading loudly, Swamiji's folk chant in park to find ecstasy. 50 followers clap and Swami to hypnotic music at the east side ceremony, sitting under a tree in a lower east side park and occasionally dancing. 50 followers of the Hindu Swami repeated a 16-word chant of 2 hours yesterday. It was more than 2 hours. This is clipping from the paper. For 2 hours yesterday afternoon to the accompaniment of cymbals, tambourines, sticks, drums, bells and a small reed organ. Repeating of the chant, Swami A.C. Bhaktivedanta says, it is best ways to achieve self-realization in this age of destruction. While children played on Hoving Hills, a pile of dirt in the middle of Thompson Square Park. Hoving's Hill, Kirtananda. I think it is a joke named after the park's commissioner, Satswarupa. Oh, Hoving Hill, a pile of dirt in the middle of Thompson Square Park, or bicycled along the sunny walks. Many in the crowd of about 100 persons standing around the chanters found themselves saying to or clapping hands in time to the hypnotic rhythmic music. It brings a state of ecstasy, said Allen Ginsberg, the poet, who was one of the celebrate. For one time, Allen Ginsberg said, the syllable forced yoga breath control. That's one physiological explanation. Satsurupa and Kirtananda laughed. That's nonsense. The ecstasy of chanting our mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kirtananda, the Swami said that the best part, because they have printed the mantra, it's all perfect. Whoever reads this can be purified just the same as if they had chanted Satsurupa. Continue. He replaced LSD and other drugs for many of the Swami's followers. Mr. Ginsberg said, he explained that Hare Krishna, pronounced Haren, is the name for Vishnu, a Hindu god, as a bringer of light. Rama, pronounced Rahman, is the incarnation of Vishnu, as the prince of responsibility. What? Where did he get that? It sounds like something out of an encyclopedia. The chant therefore names different aspects of God. Mr. Ginsberg said, why so much from Mr. Ginsberg? Why not Swamiji? Another celebrate, a 26-year-old Howard, Mr. Wheeler, who described himself a founder English instructor at Ohio State University, now devoting himself time to Swamiji, said, I myself took 50 doses of LSD and a dozen of peyote in 2 years, and now nothing. Laugher. The Swami ordered his followers to give up all intoxications, including coffee, tea, and cigarettes. He said in an interview after the ceremony, in this scene we have helping our government. He added, however, he indicated the government apparently he not appreciated his help sufficiently. For the Department of Immigration recently told Swami Bhaktivedanta that his 1-year visitor's visa had expired and that he must leave. He said, the case is being appealed. The Swami, a swarthy man with short cropped greyish hair and clad in a salmon-colored robe over a pink sweater, said that when he first met his own teacher or guru in 1922, he was told to spread the cult of Krishna to the Western countries through the English language. Therefore, in his old age, 71, I had taken so much risk. It says that we have going to come there and chant every Sunday. His followers include some social workers. I guess that's me, Kirtananda. I think this article will bring a lot of new people. The Swami come down for class. The morning was chill and he wore a peach-colored turtleneck jersey. His disciples brought for him a shop from at the shop or on Orchid Street. They had also started wearing such jersey, a kind of unofficially uniform. Swamiji did not mention the Times article. He began singing the Sankirtana prayers. Vandeham Sri Gurum. I offer my obeisances to my respectable spiritual master. Then he began singing Hare Krishna. And the boys joined in, singing softly. Prabhupada cautioned them. But no sooner had he spoken that water began pouring down through the cracks in the ceiling. The man upstairs did not like the morning kirtanas, and he began stomping his feet to show that his flood was no accident. What is this? Prabhupada looked up, disturbed but what a touch of amusement. The boys looked around. Water was pouring down in several places. Get some pots, he said. A boy ran upstairs to Swamiji's apartment to get pots from the kitchen. Soon, 3 pots were catching the water and it dripped in 3 separate places. How does he do it? Asked Umapati. Is he pouring water onto the floor? Prabhupada asked Brahmananda to go up and speak to the man, to tell him that the kirtana would be a quiet one. Then he asked everyone to sit back down amid the dripping of the pots and continue chanting. Softly, he said, softly. That evening, the temple was filled with guests. It is so much kindness of the Supreme Lord, Prabhupada said, that he wanted to associate with you. So, you should receive him. Always chant Hare Krishna. Now, this language is Sanskrit, and some of you do not know the meaning. Still, it is so attractive that when we chanted Hare Krishna in the park, oh, old ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls all took part. But there are also complaints, just like we are receiving daily reports that our Sankirtana movement is disturbing some tenements here. So we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada lilamritha ki jai, Satsvarupa Das Gauram Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna.